Last Friday began just like any other day.
I go to school.
I drink my morning coffee on a bunch of Zooms and then get in the car to race to a bunch of other meetings. It's a very rewarding life. Anyway, at 10:23 Eastern Time, something amazing happened.
Earthquake!
That was it.
Actually, maybe it was a little more like this.
We will rebuild, son. I promise you.
What?
All joking aside, earthquakes like this don't happen that often on the East Coast where we're from. This magnitude 4.8 quake was one of the largest ever recorded in the state of New Jersey. And these tremblings that lasted almost 30 seconds by some reports were felt as far away as places like Florida and Minnesota and Nova Scotia. That is unusual.
And since you know we love a good old science story, especially when it's in our own backyard.
So we came here to Whitehouse Station, New Jersey, the epicenter of last week's earthquake, to learn why this rare earthquake happened, why so many people felt it so far away, and maybe why the East Coast needs to take these earthquakes a bit more seriously.
Probably won't need your hiking gear for this one. Let's go.
Let's go. Loud. Looking around, this is a fairly typical suburban to even semi-rural community. There's farms and schools and lots of fun playgrounds and people walking their dogs and grocery shopping and all the normal things you're probably doing in your community right now. And that's sort of the point. On this active planet, earthquakes are a fairly frequent event. It's just that you may not always be feeling it.
Next playground.
This has really turned into more of a playground adventure than anything, honestly. Kai's not mad. If we look at global earthquake frequency, it's estimated that earthquakes of a magnitude 2.0 or less happen somewhere from 50 to 100 times each day, maybe even more than that. At a magnitude 2.5 or less, you may not even feel the earthquake is happening.
Our planet is alive and active, super active, underneath our feet every day. We could just be living our lives and then, like, there's an earthquake or a volcano or a tsunami happening somewhere else. The Earth is cool.
But occasionally we do experience earthquakes of large magnitudes. It's estimated that we have about 15 earthquakes in the magnitude 7 range and one earthquake magnitude 8 or greater each year.
Size-wise, they're the big ones. And that's not a good thing, I mean.
The scale we use to measure earthquake activity is logarithmic, so every integer increases a factor of 10. This means that a quake measuring, say, a magnitude of 5 is likely to cause some minor damage, while at a magnitude of 7, like the magnitude 7.4 earthquake they recently experienced in Taiwan, with that you'll likely see serious damage and even loss of life. These larger, more dangerous quakes are typically associated with active plate margins, like where two tectonic plates come together, which is why you see so much earthquake activity and even volcanic activity in places like the Ring of Fire.
But that's not this place. There's no tectonic boundaries around here. So what caused this earthquake?
We're gonna get to that, but first we need to talk about one more unique feature of this quake. And that is the fact that at a notable but still modest 4.8 magnitude, this earthquake was felt by individuals at incredibly far distances from this spot, the epicenter in New Jersey. There were individuals reporting they felt this quake 1,000 miles away or maybe even more. And that is curious. And here's where we have to shift from talking about size to intensity, the amount of shaking experienced by humans and structures as a result of that earthquake.
Captain, we're under attack. Dang it, Captain. I'm a doctor, not a seismologist.
And as it turns out, the intensity can vary wildly depending on factors like the geology of the area and the depth of the earthquake.
So, two different earthquakes with the same magnitude can have very different felt intensities. This is super cool.
The geology of Eastern North America is unique. The rocks here are old, very old, and they're cold and they're brittle. They formed about 1 billion years ago. Now, these ancient formations have endured extreme pressures and temperatures, leaving them harder and denser. And no, we are not doing an old age mom joke again right now.
Okay, sorry. Moving on.
These old rocks along the East Coast also contain many ancient faults.
And just like earthquakes, faults are common across the U.S.
Like the Ramapo Fault Line, a network of interconnected faults dating back 500 million years, which runs right through this area of New Jersey and was likely responsible for this and a good number of other quakes in this area.
This fault was formed during the creation of the Appalachian Mountains.
And while currently we are thousands of miles from the edge of any tectonic plate, those tectonic forces are still at work here. The whole continent is moving, people, and this New Jersey fault experiences minor compressional forces over time from this movement. Eventually, these forces have just added up until this ancient fault can't take it anymore. The rock slips and the ground shakes.
So like, what?
We shouldn't keep doing that. We did that already.
It's fun though. And it keeps moving. Multiple aftershocks have already been felt, and the risk of additional earthquakes will remain elevated for at least the next year.
And the more earthquakes you have, the more risk you have for a big earthquake causing lots of damage. Unfortunately, we're not that great at predicting when and where earthquakes can happen. But one reason that the huge Taiwanese earthquake resulted in relatively minimal loss of life despite its massive size was that they planned ahead for decades, getting prepared for a big one.
But here on the East Coast, not many folks are ready if a larger earthquake would hit. That's likely a problem we need to fix.
And there's one last thing we probably should mention.
Yeah, while the ancient fault lines that run underground, right under our feet, right here, are probably to blame for last week's earthquake and the earthquakes we often experience in this region, it's not the only possible cause. There's an intriguing theory in earth science that suggests that us humans and features like this body of water right behind me may have something to do with earthquakes. Of course, it could also just be Kai.